Hey guys, how's it going? Today we've got the new HTC One M9 Plus. Now this phone hasn't released in all the markets, but HTC has introduced this in India, and I've been actually using the HTC One series over the last 3 generations, the HTC One M8 and the M7 before that. This is where they introduce the unibody aluminium construction, and I'm a big fan of that. I really love the design of the M7, and over the years their phones have got bigger even though they've retained the design philosophy. Now the new HTC One M9 Plus, does it have what it takes to take on the competition? Before we get into the details, I think it's better we understand where the HTC One M9 is coming from and how does it compare to the previous generations. We have seen screen sizes grow from 4.7 inches to 5 inches to 5.2 inches on the HTC One M9 Plus. It has actually got thicker over the years, from 9.3mm on the original M1 to 9.6mm on the M9. That's not a big deal, as I'd rather have a thicker phone with more battery life and better specs than a sleeker phone that dies out on me in the middle of the day. And HTC has actually increased the battery capacity over the years, and now on the HTC One M9 Plus, it's at 2840 mAh to support the 2K screen. One more tiny detail which doesn't really matter as much, but now that we are going into the specifics, here it is. Even though they are all aluminium phones in principle, HTC did use some plastic in the previous generations, especially around the bezel. This was significant with the M7, and on the M8 it was minimized to a wide band which was tucked away between the screen and the body. On my M8 this had actually chipped very easily and it looked pretty bad, but on the M9 it's now all metal. HTC has brought a dual-tone finish to the M9 Plus. This one in silver has this gold band all around. We really like its finish, but I'm not a big fan of the shine. I preferred the subtle matte finish on the M7, and even the finish on the M8 was great, but this gloss is a little too blingy for my taste. Still, you could get used to it, and it's a matter of personal taste. The buttons of the device blend well with the design, and there is a micro SD and micro SIM slot on the other side. The charging port and the audio out is placed at the base, and at the top is the only piece of plastic covering the infrared transmitter, which can be used as a remote. The whole Sense UI is something that I've always liked, especially with the blink feed. And with the choice of colors, it feels vibrant and pretty fluid. Again, to a large extent, it will depend on your taste, but what we like is that HTC hasn't complicated things and stuck to the essentials with a sophisticated look and feel. The one thing that HTC didn't want to miss out on this year was a fingerprint scanner, considering how both the iPhone 6 and the Galaxy S6 have it. And the implementation is great. The large metallic button is touch sensitive and doesn't give you the tactile feel of a button, but it works like a charm. It's very responsive and bang on all the time. Right between this fingerprint scanner you will find the speaker, and there is another speaker grill on the top. This is something that all HTC fans will be familiar with. It has been and still is the best speaker on a smartphone, front firing, loud and clear, and it has improved over the years.
Choose your next words carefully, Leonidas. They may be your last as king. This is Sparta!
Even the screen at 5.2 inches, sharper than full HD resolution. On the inside, there's a bit of a shocker. HTC has decided to do away with the Qualcomm chipset and instead opted for MediaTek, which is still an octa-core processor, but in our benchmark tests, it didn't seem to match up with other flagships. But specs don't really define a smartphone, it's the user experience. And at least there is 3 GB of RAM, which helps in a smooth performance. We had no issues as such, but when you know there is a bottleneck out there, there are bound to be apprehensions. Regular users won't have any reason to complain, but power users and spec inspectors would disagree. This is where the major improvement has been made. No ultra-pixel mumbo-jumbo on the rear camera, but a 20 megapixel sensor that churns out great pictures. Of course, how could HTC let go of the secondary camera, which helps in post-processing features like shifting focus from one subject to another and other gimmicky stuff? The front-facing camera has actually gone down to 4 megapixels compared to 5 megapixels, and this one is ultra-pixel. Overall, the shots churned out from the HTC One M9 are pretty good. Not the best on a smartphone, but definitely comparable. So the bottom line, I think the user interface is still amongst the best. The design is top notch. They've drastically improved the camera, which is a great thing. They got a lot of flack for their previous generation ultra pixel cameras. And even the fingerprint scanner, I think, is absolutely brilliant. It's way more responsive than the iPhone 6 and the Galaxy S6 Edge. If there is a deal breaker with the HTC One M9 Plus, it has to be the MediaTek processor. I think HTC decided to skip on Qualcomm because they wanted to keep the price in account. But when you're buying a flagship smartphone, when you're buying a premium device and you're shelling all that money, you want to feel secure about your purchase. You want to have that peace of mind that you bought the best camera and you have decent amount of RAM and you have the best level processor out there. So that will be a deal breaker for some people. You can of course check out the HTC One M9, which doesn't have the Quad HD display or the fingerprint scanner, but has the Qualcomm processor and is a great phone, I feel. Anyway, what do you think of the HTC One M9 Plus? Do you have any questions about the device? Feel free to ask in the comment section below and I'll be more than happy to answer. And if you've made it this far in the video, be nice, like, share and subscribe. Thank you for watching.